is suing his ex-girlfriend, data entry clerk Tracy Bell, for an unpaid loan for bail, legal fees, and collect calls. Tracy says there was no agreement to pay the money back.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 504 on the calendar in the matter of Laventhal versus Bell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Laventhal, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were in a relationship several years ago.
Yes.
But not for a long time.
No.
And you received a telephone call from her from jail.
Yes.
After not having had contact with her for a while.
Correct.
Is that right so far?
Well, he was contacting my work, my employment, trying to contact me to find out where I was working at.
But he hadn't contacted you?
In probably about a year or so.
Good. And you're in jail, so you call him. What did you call him for from jail?
A couple of reasons. To make amends for some of the situations.
Don't give me amends. I don't want to hear amends, Miss Bell. I want the legitimate answer. You called him from jail. What were you in jail for?
I was in jail for motor vehicle.
For motor vehicle what?
I had unpaid fines. I had to do community service.
Must have been a lot of fines.
One was for $505. The other one was bail for $705, and the other one I think was, I'm not exactly sure how much.
On what date were you taken into custody?
August 11th.
And on what date did you call Mr. Leventhal?
If I'm not mistaken, on the 13th.
How many other people did you try before you tried him?
I had spoken to my mother and my best
Mother
friend.
first?
Yes.
Mother said she didn't have any money.
Her and my boyfriend were trying to get the money up together.
Right now, they didn't have any money.
Right.
And you had a boyfriend. How many times did you speak to the boyfriend?
I hadn't spoken to him. He was also incarcerated at the time.
So he was of no value to you. Who else did you speak to? Friend?
My friend Lisa.
Lisa? She asked Lisa to help you out?
No, I did not.
Okay. So far, nobody had come up with the cash. So you called Mark. And I don't want to hear about making amends that from the years before. You asked him to bail you out. Is that right?
I don't think those words came out of my mouth. I didn't ask him specifically.
What
to
did
bail
you
me out.
say to him?
We were talking. He actually hung up on me, and I called back, and we were joking around on the phone about...
Why did you call back if he hung up on you?
Because I thought it was comical. He was acting...
We weren't joking. She asked me to bail her out.
Of course she did. Of course she did. Now, she asked you to bail her out, and she said exactly what?
I promised to pay you back.
And how much was the bail, sir?
The total bail was $1,505.
And there were also some fines.
Yeah, because part of the bail was we had to go back and pay the bail bondsman $50 a week. And then there was also a community service for $250. And then there was a public defender for one township for $100 and another public defender for $50.
Okay. Now, at some point, after she gets out of jail, you allow her to move into your house, according
Yes.
to you. Why?
Because she didn't have any other place to go.
Where was the boyfriend?
In jail.
Where was the mother?
Doesn't want anything to do with her.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Why didn't you go to your mother's house?
First of all, my mother doesn't have the room for me there.
She doesn't have a cot, she doesn't have a floor,
I don't get along very well with my stepfather either.
and that's a reason. So
Yes.
don't give me that she doesn't have room for you.
But it's not that she doesn't want anything to do with me. That's untrue, Your Honor.
She doesn't want you in her house because you don't get along with your stepfather, which probably is because you keep getting yourself arrested. So you had no place else to go, so you went to his house.
Yes, Your Honor.
How did you come to tell him that you had no place else to go?
I was staying with a friend of mine.
And what happened?
And Mark and I were still staying in contact. So a week or two afterwards, we'd gone out to dinner for his birthday, and he kept offering, he offered his house to me when I was in jail, and I had turned him down. That I didn't think
Tell
it was,
me how he offered his house to you.
He said that was one of the conditions that he had wanted for bailing me out, was that I moved back into the apartment with him.
Is that right?
Partially.
Go ahead, let me hear.
She originally moved back with her friend Lisa. Her and Lisa got into a fight. Tracy left, went to one of her boyfriend's houses he was in jail at the time. While she was there, the boyfriend's girlfriend called the cops because she wasn't supposed to be there because there was a restraining order that she had against him. And that's when she called me and asked if she could move in with me.
So why was this a condition of the bail?
Because I wanted to know what she was doing and where she was going, and to make sure that she made it to her court dates because I had put out so much money for the bail.
When she appeared in court, was any of this money returned to you? Because she actually appeared in court from the bail bondsman.
No, some of them are still waiting, and actually she missed some of those court dates.
You did? Why did you
Yes, I did, Your Honor. Mark was supposed to take me to court. He had surgery done. He had given me his car so I could go to court, but then the day that I was supposed to go to court, he told me I wasn't allowed to take the car to court.
So why didn't you walk?
Because it's over an hour away from where we live.
I don't care.
That's not true.
Shh, I don't care.
And I had called and tried to get it postponed, and I talked to my attorney.
So you didn't make a court date. So whatever money you might have
yes.
gotten back, he's not going to get back for sure. All right, how much money did she give you back?
She gave me $150.22 back on August 15th. Then on September 27th, she gave me $65.
Your Honor.
And then on October 9th, she gave me $9.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, I was living there and I was giving him all the money that I had. It was not towards the bail, it was towards the living expenses.
Fine, then you still owe him for the bail.
Under the conditions that he had put me in, I'm unable to pay it.
I don't understand what
Your
you're
Honor,
talking about.
when I was living, Your Honor, when I was living there, he forced himself on me sexually.
Yeah,
I had the police reports, Your Honor, and then after the police...
I have no counterclaim, madam.
And then,
I have no counterclaim.
And then, Your Honor, he has here saying that I don't owe him any money. It says in this letter that he had sent to me that I don't owe him any money.
It doesn't say he doesn't owe you any money.
It says there that he would sign a paper stating that I don't owe him any money if I would come back to him.
Just say, did he ever do that?
No, he didn't, Your Honor.
So? He never did it. It doesn't say that there wasn't a debt, madam. What it says is, I feel terrible about what might have happened the other night. I don't remember anything about what happened the other night. But if you want me to sign a paper saying that I'm so sorry and that you don't owe me any money, I'll be more than happy to do that to prove how I feel about you. But he never did it. That doesn't mean you don't owe him any money. You owe him the money.
Your Honor.
It's your debt. Get it through your head. Stop being a user.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You called him from jail for money. This manipulative, maniacal, miserable person.
Your Honor, he was trying to control me.
If you had
he was
called
telling
him
me
from
who I
jail,
was.
hey, did you call him from jail?
Yes, I did.
And later today,
Crystal ball, where will they be 5 years from now? 5 years from now, you won't even remember his first name.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mark Labenthal says ex-girlfriend Tracy Bell owes for an unpaid loan for bail. Tracy says Mark forced himself on her sexually, so all bets are off.
Madam, you couldn't get the money from your mother, your boyfriend's in jail, so you call your old boyfriend and you say, listen, you got to get me out of here.
My boyfriend was in the process of bailing me out at the same time that Mark was. But
well,
Mark...
listen to me, Miss Bell. If that's the truth, then what your boyfriend should have done is say, I don't want Miss Bell to be beholden to you in any way. Here's your money.
And the money that...
Here's your money.
Your Honor, I was offering him money out of the little bit of money that I did have to pay for my public defenders. He told me not to. He said that I would need the money myself.
True, Your Honor.
I was also
Bell,
giving
get
him...
it together, madam.
I was also giving
You
him...
owe him the money. And if you stop using people, you are irresponsible, A.
Your Honor, he was trying to control me.
If you had
he was
called
telling
him
me
from
who I
jail,
was in
hey! Did you call him from jail?
Yes, I did.
When you broke up with him initially, did you break up with him because he was controlling?
Yes.
Because he didn't let you do what you wanted to do, see your friends, have a life of your own, is that right?
It was even worse than that.
Terrible. That's why you broke up with him.
Yes.
So this person who was terrible to you, who was controlling to you, who was manipulative, that's the person that you choose to call to make amends from jail. You're in jail 2 days. That's the person you choose to get involved with again. And furthermore, when you get thrown out of one place, when you're out of jail because he's bailed you out, you choose to go to stay in his house. Because when he offers his house to you, this manipulative, maniacal person, all you have to do is say no. And if you didn't want to become involved with him again, all you had to do was stay in jail.
Your Honor, it wasn't supposed to be a sexual relation. It was supposed to be, he was supposed to be helping me get on my feet. And he had forced himself on me.
Miss Bell,
I have a scar on my lip from him punching me in the mouth.
Miss Bell, I am unsympathetic. Okay. Unsympathetic. Right now, I don't have a counterclaim.
Okay.
If I did, I might hear you, and then again, I might not. But I have nothing to hear. If what you're saying is all bets are off because he forced himself on me,
and harassed
I am not.
I have tapes of him harassing me at home.
You called him from jail for money. This manipulative, maniacal, miserable person who you were free from, you called him after a year to come and help you out.
I was never free from him. He was harassing me at work.
Pay him $1,905, madam.
There's additional.
Listen, I don't want to hear about the phone calls. You invited her into your house? You should have put a lock on your phone. You know the character? I don't want to hear about the phone calls. Do you understand me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. $1,905. Judgment for the plaintiff. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He assaulted me.
I was just trying to help her out.
He harasses me and stalks me.
She promised to change.
I never asked him personally to bail me out. He offered to do that on his own.
She said she was going to pay me back.
When you're in jail, you think of stupid things, and that was my mistake by letting him back into my life again.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Toller versus Falk, step forward, please.
Homemaker Renee Toller is suing her ex-boyfriend, service technician Bobby Falk, for an unpaid loan. Bobby says the purpose of the loan was to get Renee out of debt.
Miss Toller, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you live together?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
From when to when?
I think I moved in with him last year, around June. We planned to have a baby together. I got pregnant 2 months later after I went off the pill. He got a summons to court to go.
You're getting way ahead of yourself. I asked you a question. When did you move in together? You said
June.
June. June of 2001?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you move out?
Moved all my belongings out the morning of April 13th.
It is your claim that during the time that you lived together, you took out a personal loan so that Mr. Falk could pay some back child support.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, my ex-mother-in-law took out the loan for us.
Your ex-mother-in-law?
Yes, ma'am. My children's paternal grandmother.
How many children do you have?
I have 2.
And when is this baby expected?
In 22 days.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renee Toller says the father of her unborn child, Bobby Falk, owes for a loan. Bobby says the loan was taken out so Renee could clear up her debt.
Now tell me about this loan. Did you agree to pay back your ex-mother-in-law?
Yes, both of us did. Bobby said he could pay it off within 90 days. He had 2 vinyl siding jobs coming up.
What was the total amount of the loan?
$3,500.
And how much of it was used to pay his child support?
$2,600.
Was that money given to him?
Mm-hmm.
By
Yes.
whom?
The loan was deposited in my bank account. The money order that paid his child support came out of my bank account. And I have the papers here.
Let me see.
Here's
Are
the
you
loan.
paying back the loan?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, while we lived together, we both paid it back. When I moved out, I called Bobby to ask for help to pay on the payments.
Okay, just 1 second. So while you were living together, you were both paying?
We
the
both
loan.
paid it, uh-huh.
It's not your allegation that he owes $2,600
No, it's
anymore.
$2248.93. That's the remainder of the loan.
And how did you arrive at that figure?
That was the remainder of the loan.
Well, it was the remainder of what loan? The $3,500 loan that you took out? or-
$3,500.
Well, but you only gave him $2,600 to pay child support. Mm-hmm. Where did the other money go to?
I'm not sure exactly what we did with it. We may have made a house payment with the other $900.
Well, I don't know either, but that's...
I don't either.
Well, if you paid back...
Together, we paid back the other $900 already.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if some of that money was not used for his child support, he's not responsible for that other money. So far, is that correct, sir, that you paid back $900?
I think so, yes, ma'am.
Were you working?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And you were working?
Till 5 weeks before April 12th.
5
I was
weeks
working.
before. So from September until March, you were working. Fine. Did she pay money to your for your child support?
I think there was some money paid, yes, ma'am.
Do you know how much?
Not right offhand, ma'am.
Does $2,600 sound right?
That could be.
Oh, there you go.
However, I was the only sole breadwinner of the family there for quite a period of time. The period of time that she says she was working is not correct. She did not work the entire time she said that she worked.
Well, when did she work, sir?
Well, on a weekly basis, you made 2 to maybe 3 days a week.
But you were living together as a family.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to go into 2 or 3 days a week and you were working 5 days a week. You paid back as a family $900 towards this loan. However, there is a substantial portion of it, or at least a big piece of it, that was not used for your child support, which is what she's suing for, $2,600. According to my calculations, if you acknowledge that this loan was taken out, at least 2/3 of it was taken out for your child support, You originally owed $2,600, and I'm giving you credit for $600, which is 2/3 of the $900 that was paid for, which comes out to $2,000. Now, you want to explain to me, sir, why you don't owe $2,000?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, from the beginning of the time that she moved in with me, we were both working on the same job for construction. She had problems with being out in the sun, out in the heat, so she very seldom was able to work on that job. Soon after, she got a job inside of an apartment complex in an office. During that period of time, I worked 6 and sometimes 7 days a week in order to make ends meet. You keep in mind, I have 2 children, she had her 2 children, and the both of us was in my house, which meant that I was the sole breadwinner, more or less, for the entire group.
Your children living with you?
For the biggest part of the time, yes, ma'am. At that point in time, they were.
How old are they?
I have a son that's 8 and a daughter that's 13.
And who was taking care of the children when you were working?
She would be there at the house during that period of time. Yes, ma'am, while she was asleep, what have you.
Whatever.
So who was watching my kids?
Whatever. You weren't there. Someone was watching them.
Somebody had to work.
And if she wasn't watching them, someone would have had to have watched them. Right?
I could have taken care of that too.
I'm sure you could have, but you didn't. Keep going. I'm still waiting for a reason why you don't owe $2,000 on this loan.
Well, I feel that if things was to be fair, then we could look at as to what money was spent as far as paying everybody's bills, my bills, her bills, and taking care of everybody else that was in the household at the same time.
Why should she be responsible for paying your back child support?
Nobody said she was responsible for it.
Well, she is responsible for it if this loan
something
is
she
her
chose to do on her
responsibility.
own.
What?
That would be something she chose to do on her own. I never signed the first piece of paper for that note.
No, but you agreed to pay it back.
Did you get a notice from Child Support Enforcement that you owe this money?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did the notice from Child Support Enforcement indicate that unless you came up with this money, they had several alternatives? One was your arrest, one was taking away your driver's license, and they gave you the whole menu of possibilities? Yes, that happened, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course it did. So you had to come up with the money,
yes,
right?
Ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm glad I won, so I don't have to worry about paying it back and taking care of a new baby.
I'll do what I've got to do to help support my child. That's my obligation, and that's what I'll do.
Don't put yourself out on a limb for nobody.
You better off staying by yourself.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Andres versus Brazil. Step forward, please.
Ryan Andres is suing his ex-fiancée, sales rep Trisha Brazil, for an unpaid loan for office equipment. Trisha is countersuing for the return of personal property, unpaid rent, and harassment.
All right, Mr. Andres, your lawsuit says that the defendant, with whom you lived and you have a child with, owes you money for a loan for office equipment that allowed her to work in the house.
Correct.
Equipment that you purchased, she used, when you separated, she took, and you want her to pay for it.
Correct.
The defendant says there was never a discussion of a loan for this office equipment. It was a way of her earning a living while you were together because you were incapacitated for a period of time. You were not working. She had to support both you and your son, the son that you share. She has a counterclaim, which is a whole bunch of nonsense, and Miss Brazil, let me deal with it right now because I want to keep this case as clean as possible. You say that he took a camcorder of yours, that he owes you for rent during the time that he was incapacitated last year or the year before, that he said he would pay you for, and a chair. Okay? That's your counterclaim.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that I think that's all a bunch of nonsense, and you never would have filed a counterclaim had he not sued you for this office equipment.
That's true. I'm desired to be in court, and I would have never. But
Absolutely right.
But part of what he's suing me for is the camcorder, part of the...
I'm not interested. So let's understand each other. This isn't a tit for tat. He has a lawsuit. I'm going to get to his lawsuit. And I'm not worried about your chair and your camcorder and this old rent bill that he was supposed to pay you if he ever got better.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ryan Andres says ex-fiancée Trisha Brazil owes for an unpaid loan for office equipment.
That was your arrangement. You were a family, despite the fact that you didn't have a marriage license. You were operating as a family. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And at a time when you were injured, you discussed with the woman you were living with, the mother of your child, working from home. Is that right? Now, take it from there.
It wasn't so much her simply working from home. She was working for a company and decided that she could work from home, be close with the baby, and that's what we had talked. That's how the whole story got started. I looked at it. I had a large amount of money coming in from my 401k, and I said, well, we could do this. Since I am on disability, I had a very bad broken leg. What I was going to be able to do work-wise was really in question. I did warehouse work, and I taught karate on the side.
You had a very bad broken leg, and
Exactly.
you were incapacitated. Right, and you had a baby home.
This wasn't simply an opportunity for her to work from home. The deal was she was going to work from home while I was on disability. She was going to teach me kind of tools of the trade so I can learn something new, so I'd have something to fall back on.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm in marketing. I do graphic design work.
And you can do that on your computer at home?
Yes.
Okay, fine. When you broke your leg, is that right?
Correct.
Were you living together at the time?
Yes.
How long were you in the hospital?
Maybe 4 days, and I had to go to a rehabilitation hospital for another month.
And then you came home?
No.
And then where did you go?
I had to go to my mother's house. She has a 2-story home, and the bathrooms are upstairs. My mom's house was...
More convenient. So you stayed with your mom for how long?
Probably 2 to 3 months. And then I would go over to Trisha's house. I would stay the night with her. This is all when she was still pregnant with our child. And during the day when she went to work, she would drop me off back at my mother's house so I could...
Just she took care of you. You went over there, she picked you up, she took you back. Now, after the baby was born, where did you live?
After the baby was born, I lived with Trisha.
Moved into her house?
Correct.
Okay. Were you ambulatory at that point?
Yeah, with a crutch.
With crutches?
A crutch, eventually a cane, yeah.
Okay, with crutches. Now, the baby was born at that time?
In January, correct.
Who took care of the baby?
I did.
With your crutches?
Absolutely.
Oh, good. Good for you. Okay, so explain this loan to me. So now I've got office equipment that you was going to work from out of the house. How did the loan come about, Mr. Andres?
Our deal was she wanted to work from home. I was in a position where I can make that possible. And in return, I wanted to gain some type of knowledge from this. So
Good. So, keep
it
going.
never happened. Time went on. She continued to use the equipment that I bought for her job that she was at. It never happened. In September, I ended up going back to work for a warehouse in our area. She kept working where she was at, eventually left, and became self-employed.
I don't see a loan, sir.
I bought the stuff, Your Honor. I have the copy of the cash.
So what?
That's the loan.
That's not a loan. That's not a loan, Mr. Andres. Where do you get a loan from that? You had a family. The family had to be supported. Needed, I gather, 2 people, your disability and her work to do it. You said, great, you work from the house. I'm going to buy this equipment so you can work from the house. You'll teach me. Period. End of discussion. It didn't become a loan until you separated.
Your Honor, we had a deal. Deal. We had a deal. I was to learn something. I paid
and you
for
didn't
my
learn
stuff.
anything. Whose fault is that? You went back to work. That is not a loan, Mr. Andres. That's not a loan. That's living together and planning a future that doesn't work out. That's not a loan. I understand from Miss Brazil, whose counterclaim I'm not even thinking about. Do you understand that?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you. During what year do you claim that he owes you for rent?
The year of 2000, and then he paid rent intermittently during 2000 and part of 2001.
Okay, it's old, that's why. Because 2 years later, you don't wake up and say, he owes me for rent in 2000. Because I know and you know that your counterclaim is nonsense. That you would never be here but for the fact of this nonsense about this equipment. Now, what I want to know is, she says that you didn't even bring up the issue of this equipment again until after she took you to court for child support.
That is not true.
Now, but one thing that amazed me, and I just want to find out whether I read it wrong. Are you currently under a child support order, Mr. Andres?
Yes, I am.
What is that order?
It's $38 a month.
That's what I read, $38 a month. What country do you live in?
The United States.
What state in this country?
California.
What county?
Stanislaus County.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now I'm not working. That's why it's $38 a month.
Why are you not working?
I've been looking for work, Your Honor.
Who's supporting you?
I'm staying at my mother's house.
That's nice. Collect cans, sir. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was a gift. It was planned that we would, you know, have a life together.
I mean, I put out money not just for her future, but my future as well, and it never panned out.
I don't want to go to court. This isn't how I would solve something.
I'm out $5,000, and I shouldn't be.
Maker Roseanne Dennis is suing contractor Terry Pierce for misrepresenting the sale of a home and for harassment. Terry is countersuing for the return of personal property.
Come to order. All rise. That's case number 84 on the calendar in the matter of Dennis versus Pierce. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
All right, I have a claim and I have a countersuit. The claim is that, Miss Dennis, you bought a home from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
On substantial acreage, 5 acres?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And it is your claim that there was a damaged bathtub.
A latent defect, yes.
Don't give me latent defect. There was a damaged bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And it cost you a substantial amount of money to fix that bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
In addition, you claim that the defendant has embarked upon a course of harassment by calling Child Protective Services on your family, for which you also want to be compensated.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says he never made any calls to Child Protective Services. Is that right, sir?
This is true, Your Honor.
That the home that you purchased was purchased as one usually purchases a home. You had a home inspection, an inspector of your own choosing, and whatever defect was found should have been found by the inspector. He says, however, that you actually owe him money. You had left certain property with the consent of the plaintiff on the acreage in a shed, and it was the arrangement that you would take that property after the closing.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And that the defendant, in retaliation for the fact that you weren't going to pay her for this bathtub, locked the shed, couldn't get to your property. Subsequently, the shed was removed. She put your property at another location, and a lot of it was either damaged or destroyed.
It's true.
Okay. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's your claim.
Yes.
So, Miss Dennis, when did you purchase the house from Mr. Pierce?
On January 22nd.
And when did you have the home inspection?
I have a copy of it here.
I'd like to see it.
It was done before we bought the home.
Of course. Stupid to have it afterwards.
This is the advertisement of the home.
No. I just want to see your inspection.
Your Honor, it claims 2 full baths, and being how one of the tubs was damaged, it was only considered 1.5 baths.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? That because the home was advertised 2 full baths and there was a crack in one of the bathtubs, he misrepresented the home to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you get a life. Bird, would you buy a house where the report of findings said, visible evidence of wood-destroying organisms observed, wood rot and subterranean termites, wood rot, subfloor, under bathrooms, says damaged, tub, shower, and walls, damage, deterioration, noted at tub, plastic tub, cracked right front corner. All right, let me hear your claim with regard to this bathtub, madam.
The bathtub was cracked all the way in the middle of the tub. It was hidden with a decorative non-slip strip. Basically, my father-in-law, who is also my realtor, considered it, saw it. It was a latent defect.
Wasn't a latent defect. You had an inspector.
The inspector could not find it because it was covered up.
The inspector shouldn't be an idiot. The inspector noted wood rot under the bathtub.
Because of the water damage.
Right. Hello? If there's wood rot under the bathtub, something must be leaking. My goodness, where is that leaking from? Let me take a look in the bathtub.
They thought it was from termites, ma'am.
Listen, that's not his fault. That's your inspector's fault. Sue your inspector, not him. I mean, I don't know anything about the mechanisms of a house. I know how to go in, turn on a light, turn on a faucet. That's what I know. Open a refrigerator, and occasionally, if rarely, turn on an oven. But I do know this, that when you buy a house, you have a complete inspection, and it's simplistic that if there's wood rot that he notes twice under a bathtub, then you go and you peel off whatever is there, the strips that you put in so that you don't slip and fall. You peel it off, and you say, that's where it's leaking from.
It was covered up, ma'am. And the home inspector was not allowed to peel off the tape.
Who said that?
Because it was his
said that?
home. It was his home. And the home
Miss Dennis, you didn't look carefully enough, and stop blaming other people. Now, let's get to the next part of your complaint. The next part of your complaint has to do with harassment.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did this harassment start before or after you locked the shed where Mr. Pierce's property was located?
We have an amendment signed by the contract at the closing that says that Mr. Pierce was not allowed to move his contents until the shed company came. The shed was not removed until a month later. The shed company also said that it was repossessed when it was picked up, which meant even though they would have kept his belongings.
Can you answer my question? The word is either before or after.
Before, during, and after.
So tell me when you locked the shed.
The 24th after I confronted him.
24th of what?
January, 2 days later after the closing.
Okay, 24th of January.
When I confronted him about the cracked tub.
And he said what to you?
That tub's fine, my kids use it all the time.
Okay.
And I said, well, how come you didn't disclose it to the home inspector, the realtor, or anybody else about the cracked tub? You know, maybe we could have negotiated a different price. Maybe I could, you know, just make me aware of it. He did not make me aware of it. My daughter could not bathe for days.
What he said to you was, my kids use that tub all the time, which is probably true because there was so much water underneath that the wood rotted, and the tub was fine. But on the 24th, you confronted him, 2 days after you closed. When did you lock the shed?
The 23rd.
You locked the shed the 23rd after you discovered the crack?
Before.
Your Honor, if I may.
Before.
Go ahead.
When I went to go pick up my possessions, which was on the 24th of January, the shed wasn't still locked. They advised me that there was a problem and that I had to deal with my realtor and her realtor at the time, which is her father-in-law. Well, in that event, I said to her, well, I came to get my Jeep and my stuff. She said, no, you're not getting it. She was even going to hold my Jeep hostage.
No,
so I told her that I will not do this. If you want, we could resolve this with the deputies. She did give me my Jeep. I thought I would let this blow over. I had already scheduled to go up north on vacation. I already had a scheduled pickup for Cook. Cook, this doesn't come.
You had a
scheduled pickup for the shed and the contents to be picked up.
What do you mean, this is a rented shed?
It's a rented shed, yes it is. I had to make 3 different plans, 3 different arrangements to have the shed picked up. Finally, Cook Shed agreed to have this shed repoed, because then that would be a base of action for them to go on and retrieve that property. There was no other way of getting it. They withheld me from getting that shed. I was willing to get it that week of closing.
You mean the week of the 24th?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Your Honor,
yes.
If I may, we signed a leased contract stating that Cook's shed would pick up shed and contents, not Mr. Pierce would come and pick up contents.
You were getting even. You were using the contents of the shed as leverage for the cracked bathtub.
Ma'am.
Miss Dennis,
yes.
I want you to listen. You know, that's a rather simplistic thing. He's got property on your property.
Right.
You come in, and 2 days later or the next day find out that there's a cracked bathtub, and you're angry. So you say, I'm not giving him his property back until we resolve the issue of this bathtub. You have to be honest with me, madam.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Roseanne Dennis says Terry Pierce misrepresented the sale of his home by camouflaging a cracked bathtub. Terry says Roseanne is holding his belongings hostage.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I was told to do that by my attorney.
Just a minute. I don't care whether you were told to do it, but that was, listen to me, Miss Dennis,
yes.
That's the drill. Don't give him his property.
Until I was able to serve him.
Until you get satisfaction with regard to the bathtub. Now, what happened to his property?
Ma'am, the thing of it is that I was told that basically he would not give his address to my realtor or his realtor or anybody else so we could find him so I could serve him court papers. I had to hire a private investigator to try and find out his address because he wouldn't disclose it to anybody. I wanted to do this the civil way. I didn't want him on my property. I was scared of Mr. Pierce. I had to buy a gun. My fiance, HRS came to my house, and my fiance committed suicide over this. And I have a baby that's 8 months old now that will never see his father.
Your fiance did not commit suicide over this, Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS.
Miss Dennis.
We were harassed by HRS on the same day that the sheriff came to look for his property, and he was not there. HRS came.
Miss Dennis.
That was a coincidence.
Miss Dennis, if you've deluded yourself into believing that your fiancé committed suicide over this cracked tub and everything that came from it, you are doing nothing more than deluding yourself.
It caused a lot of problems between us.
It may have caused a lot of problems between you, problems that I'm certain existed before. Certainly the same bathtub happened to you. You did not commit suicide as a result of this cracked bathtub, and neither did your fiancé.
My fiancé did. He was scared that he was going to lose our baby. He didn't know anything about protective services. This was his first child.
Listen to me carefully. Nobody took your child from you, correct?
No.
Nobody took the child out of the house, Miss Dennis.
My fiancé did not understand that, Your Honor. He thought protective services would continuously bug us. I got an HRS report here that says that the allegations were false. The call was made on the same day that the police came to look from his stuff.
HRS said Terry Pierce.
And basically,
Mr. Pierce.
Sorry, ma'am.
Don't interrupt.
Ma'am, if I could just submit that it was the same day that the sheriff came to look for his belongings and they were not on the property, that's the same day HRS was called.
That's not proof that he called, madam.
Your Honor,
I don't know who else was.
I don't know who else called either, but what I'm telling you is you bought a house.
I didn't know anybody else in that county.
This is a stressful time for you. You have a new baby. Baby's father is no longer there to assist you. You made a mistake when you purchased this house by not reading this inspection very carefully. Any person purchasing a house, bells would have gone off and said, listen, if there's rot, there has to be a reason. I want you to go back there. I'm not satisfied with the report. I want you to go back there and look at it. See what's causing that water to get into the wood underneath the bathtub. You didn't do that. The house is closed. Miss Dennis, speak not. But you had no right. You have no right to withhold his property. I mean, if a lawyer gave you that advice, don't give him his property until you get the bathtub resolved.
No,
that's the wrong thing to do.
Him.
What kind of damage are you claiming, Mr. Pierce?
Well, Your Honor, the contents that I had in the shed, which they allegedly said they never had, was damaged. It was destroyed. Well, I had a computer. I have a list. The stuff was damaged and destroyed, and a loss of wages from the tools that they withheld. They stole all my documentation from my income tax returns for the last 7 years, my investment portfolio papers. They took photographs of my wife, my children, and which we never had gotten.
You never got them back?
I never got them back, ma'am. No, I didn't.
What did the plaintiff do with your property?
They lied about their identities to the sheriffs. Okay, that's why the sheriffs had to keep coming back to the house. They were getting no cooperation. They lied about who they were.
I asked you a question. I said, what did they do? The shed came and got taken away. When the shed came and was repossessed, was your stuff in the shed?
No, it wasn't, because I was there that day. They came and picked up the stuff.
What happened to the property?
It wound up in a used storage facility down by her ex-father-in-law down in Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
So
they moved the property out of the shed.
Yes.
Into another facility.
Yes, and they claim they never had it.
From what place did you take his property and where did you put it?
I removed the property out of the shed and I put it in use storage. The woman who works there, Joyce, watched as his property was being removed, and basically she noticed that nothing had been damaged.
Don't tell me what she noticed, Miss Dennis. You made a big mistake. You have absolutely no legal justification or right to move his property from where it was to you store it. And if anything happened to that property from the time he put it in there until the time he finally retrieved whatever he retrieved from you stored, you are responsible. There is no legal right that you had to move it. Let me see what you claim, Mr. Pierce, was destroyed and or lost.
Here's a list from the Sheriff's Department. And here's some paycheck stubs as of last week.
I'm not interested in paycheck stubs,
well,
sir.
That's part of the lawsuit.
I'm not entertaining the part of the lawsuit that indicates that they withheld tools and therefore you couldn't work. That's iffy, at best. What are you showing me this? I asked you what you could
There's a list, an itemized list from the Sheriff's Department. My work tools.
You never got them back?
No, I never got them back. Which ones I did get back were broken. And the gentleman who owns you store it, I made him... see, I couldn't open up the combination lock because I was really upset that day. And I made the owner of the storage facility come to the place, and he opened it up in my presence, and he saw that the stuff was just thrown in there.
There's no question in my mind it was just thrown in there.
Ma'am,
I want to see, sir, A bill for repairing the computer.
I never repaired it. I just went and bought a new one. I paid $1,199 for that unit that has been broken, but I went to Gateway and I bought a new one for $799.
What else?
My radio arm saws, my chop boxes, tools that I use. I install windows for a living.
Okay. Do you have any bills, Mr. Pierce, any receipts for the replacement of those tools?
No, but the deputy who wrote up the report, he had made a list of what the stuff was worth.
I'm not interested in what the deputy thought the stuff was worth,
Right.
Mr. Pierce. You say you need these tools for your living. So I assume if you went to the shed and the tools were either lost or destroyed, you had to replace them.
Well, I did.
So all I'm asking you is for the receipts so that I can see how much it cost to replace the tools that you said were missing.
I didn't think to bring them because of the fact that they were written on paper. I showed the deputy report.
Just a second. Give this back to me. This is nonsense.
Your Honor,
Okay.
nothing was damaged or broken.
Just a second. Mr. Pierce, I'm not stupid lady.
I know you're not. But
Fine. Then when you come to court, you don't tell me what a deputy thought your tools were worth.
I had to prove
what
to
you
them.
do. What you do is you bring receipts to court,
Right.
so that you show me I bought this saw and this is what it cost.
You're right.
All right. So you don't have that. What else?
That's about it, except for the
Your Honor, may I
loss
say
of
something,
wages.
Who are
please?
you?
She's my
Ma'am,
mother.
I'm Marguerite Dennis, Roseanne's mother.
Sure. What do you have
Co-owner
to
of the-
contribute to this?
May I address the court?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, in a separate transaction from purchasing the home, we bought some furniture, and inadvertently, not realizing what all we had bought from his wife, he packed one of the pieces of furniture that we had bought. So he agreed to bring it back to us the next day.
What was that piece of furniture?
It was a wicker love bench.
Okay.
And at that time, he was welcomed onto the property to get his vehicle. And at that point in time, he had every opportunity to go to the shed, get his work tools, or get whatever else he wanted to. Common sense would just tell me that if you're given the opportunity to go into your shed, you inadvertently or purposely left tools that you need in order to do your job, earn your bread and butter, you're going to go and get them. You're going to retrieve them.
Or take them when you
That's
move.
not true, Your Honor.
All I'm telling you is, Miss Dennis, I'm not giving him any money for the tools because he cannot establish to my satisfaction what those tools were.
I understand that, Your
and
Honor.
how much it cost to replace them. I'm also telling you and your daughter that it was the wrong thing to do to move any of his property off the property
I
into you
understand that,
store
Your
it.
Honor.
And I don't care who gave her that advice. It was very bad advice. Miss Dennis, while I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800 on his counterclaim, and that is really for the computer, because I don't think you can buy a new computer for less than $800.
Ma'am, I have a repair bill for the tub.
I am not.
I know you don't.
I am telling you, that's your fault. If you hired an inspector that didn't do his job,
it was covered up by a
did
no
you
slip grip.
understand me? You know, I can't say it to you more than 10 times. If an inspector notes rot under a bathtub, you look further.
He could have disclosed it because it's against the law.
Oh,
to
gee,
not
Miss Dennis,
disclose
you just don't get it. Take responsibility.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you give them back the wicker bench?
That's the day I found out that I was not allowed to go into the shed and get my property.
Okay.
So they're lying about
No,
that
ma'am.
also.
Okay, I'm
We didn't
dismissing
give
the
back the
claim,
bench.
and on the counterclaim, I'm awarding Mr. Pierce $800. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may
Thank
step
you.
out.
As for the death of their fiance, well, I apologize for that. I had nothing to do with it.
God will judge those who lie.
Maybe some therapy, some counseling.
Harassment and the fact that you may lose your son can drive somebody to suicide, and it did.
I believe that had nothing to do with it. And furthermore, I swear on my children's eyes, I had nothing to do with HRS, Child Protective Custody, or anything else invading their
The
lives.
same day the
this
police
started
didn't
way
find his
before they even
property,
moved in this
HRS
house.
came, and now an innocent eight-month-old baby will never see his father again.
26-year-old graduate student Walt Whitley is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old student Sarah Clove, for a balance transfer to his credit card. Sarah is countersuing for the return of a PlayStation 2.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 57 on the calendar in the matter of Whitley versus Clow. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat. You're welcome.
Mr. Whitley, according to what I've read, you and the defendant were boyfriend and girlfriend, and there came a time when you suggested to her that she consolidate all of her credit cards into one loan.
Correct.
You did a consolidation loan for her.
Correct. It was from her Wells Fargo loan to my credit card.
And it was your understanding that she was going to repay that loan.
That's correct.
Why did you make that consolidation loan?
Well, the reason why we did that, we often talked about getting engaged and then soon to become married. And so she has an expensive car, and then she also had a high-interest loan with Wells Fargo.
What was the interest in her account with Wells Fargo?
It was about 24%. And I was offered a balance transfer at 4.9%. So we talked about the best way for her to reduce her debt, because I'm a student right now. I have plenty of my own debt, so we were trying to take care of hers. And so we verbally agreed that I was going to help her out, and she'd make me payments for $250 a month until it was paid off.
What was the amount that you transferred onto your credit card?
There were two loans. One was for $274, and the other one was for $1,773. There were two separate Wells Fargo accounts.
Did you have two separate Wells Fargo accounts?
That is correct.
Okay.
In addition to that, she really didn't have enough money, or she had money, but she didn't have extra money. And so what I did is I put her as a signer on the account for emergency expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And the emergency expenses that I have shown here is for coffee.
Well, that was stupid of you, sir. Don't get me involved with that.
Okay.
Now, did she make any payments?
Yes, she did, Your Honor. I have two copies of two checks that
Let
she
me
wrote
see
to
them, please.
And I also have the deposit, my statements from my accounts.
So she made two payments, $275.
Correct.
I made 3 payments, Your Honor, and they were not for the credit card. They were to help him out.
Your Honor, you can see one of those.
Just a second. You made 3 payments.
That is correct.
Okay. One for $275, one for $250.
And check number 1106 in the amount of $330, which posted my account on September 3rd of 2001.
$330. And you gave that money to him for what reason, Ms. Clow?
I flew to Hawaii for his birthday. Those payments were a reimbursement for me going. Since it was his birthday, I was going to pay for my plane ticket out there and for the hotel. We also stayed in Kauai.
Which I paid for.
Which I paid him back for.
Just a minute. No. No. I don't buy that story. But I'll listen to the rest of your tale. Go ahead. I'll listen to the rest.
Okay, first of all, there was no verbal agreement made. He did this of his own free will. I was not in financial need. I was never late or behind on those payments. My car payment being expensive is irrelevant. Living at home, I did not have many expenses, as he is saying. I had the one expense of Wells Fargo and my car payment. And living at home, I had no renting.
What did you give him your account numbers for?
Because he wanted them.
What do you mean because he wanted them?
Well, first of all, we were dating.
My mouth is still moving. I don't understand because he wanted them. You say a lot of things in a relationship. You say you look great, your hair never looked better, where do you want to go for dinner, but not give me your credit card account number, babe.
Can I explain?
Yeah. Explain it to me so that I understand it.
Okay. The reason that I gave him the credit card is because he suggested to me that he would pay that balance. There was no agreement that I would pay him back.
Oh. So now, just a minute, you're changing the story. So you're saying now your defense is, so what I understand it, Ms. Clow, is that he paid off your credit cards as a gift to you.
That's how I perceived it, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what your defense is now. It wasn't before, but now that is your defense, that it was a gift to you.
Yes, and I...
Good! No, wrong. Wrong. I don't buy that for a minute.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Walt Woodley says ex-girlfriend Sarah Clow transferred a balance to his credit card and now refuses to pay.
Now, you have a counterclaim, let's get to it, for a return of your PlayStation and games.
That is correct.
Why don't you tell me what the counterclaim is about?
I purchased the PlayStation on December 5th of 2001 for myself and him to share. He refused to return it after we broke up. Since I never lived at his residence and that's where the thing was, I could not go in and get it.
Now I'll hear you. PlayStation and games.
Well, I was in Hawaii for my rotations, and I was going back to Reno for Christmas. Sarah met me in Reno, and so she spent Christmas with me. She gave me the PlayStation for Christmas as a Christmas gift. I have a card here dated 12/4/01 saying, I hope you will get something in Reno that you really like. And so you can ask her what she got me for Christmas then.
Well, she got you something in front of your house. She got something, and the PlayStation was put in your house in December, is that right?
That's in Reno, and I took it back up to Portland, where I live.
Okay. And when did you finally break up?
The third week in January, Your Honor.
Okay, and between December 5th, when you bought this PlayStation, that's when you said you bought it, right?
I have the
December...
receipt to prove it right here.
I don't doubt that you bought it.
Okay.
Between December 5th and mid-January, the PlayStation remained with the plaintiff, is that right?
But I was staying the night at his house, so it was in my possession, but I did not live there.
Okay. Mr. Whitley, I want to tell you something. I think you should get down on your knees and look up and thank God that you got out when you did. Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your counterclaim is dismissed, Miss Clow. I find that the PlayStation was a gift and judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,633. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Walter Whitley appears to be kind and generous in the things that he says and does, but if things don't go his way, as in my relationship with him, he'll turn around and stab you in the back.
Don't ever share credit cards or help someone out unless you sign the dotted line and you get married.
And 22-year-old pizza delivery boy Jed Lowen is suing his former roommate, 23-year-old retail salesperson Kelly Postumus, for unpaid rent, unpaid loans, and the value of a dog. Kelly is countersuing for the return of her property.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 35 on the calendar in the matter of Lowen versus Postumus. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Folks, have seats.
Mr. Lowen, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for rent, some money that you loaned to her, and is responsible for your puppy being lost. She says that you owe her money because you stole stuff from her storage unit. So you're going to explain this situation to me, starting with how she came to live in your house.
Okay. She married a good buddy of mine. She moved in. They both shared a room for $500 a month. And
so you had a friend.
Yeah.
Who married her.
Yes.
And he was your tenant.
Yes.
Okay. When did he move in?
Beginning of September 1st.
With his wife?
Yes.
That's the defendant?
Yes.
And then what happened?
Well, actually, they moved in, and then they got married like a week later. And then he paid $430, and then he left September 26th. He took off. He ditched her, and then she ended up staying because she had nowhere to go, so I let her stay. And then, so I'm asking for rent money.
Let's move on. So you let her stay?
Yes.
And did you have a rental arrangement with her?
Yes.
What was the arrangement?
Well, first of all, when they were married together, it was $500 a month. And then, you know, if it's just her, it's $400 a month.
Starting in October?
Yes.
Did she pay you in October?
No.
Did she pay you in November?
Nope, she never paid any rent.
Just a second. Didn't pay you in October, didn't pay you in November. When did she move out?
She moved out January 8th.
Did she pay you in December?
Nope.
And she was just your tenant?
Yes.
No romance, no nothing like that?
She tried to lure me into a relationship, but...
But you resisted?
Right.
Fine. I just want to know, this is just rent?
Yes.
And she's staying in her room and you got your room?
Well, actually, she wouldn't leave me alone. She was like a tail, I guess.
No, Mr. Lowen, listen to me, sir. I have to find out if this is a pure tenancy relationship or if something happened, because that's part of her defense. So she did not only stay in her room, but sometimes you shared a room.
Right.
Okay. When did you start sharing a room?
Well, she didn't have a bed, so I had an extra bed, and she stayed on that for a while, and then she jumped in my bed.
When did you start sharing a room, sir?
We started sharing October 4th.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about these loans that you claim, sir?
She came up to me at work and asked to borrow $60. And her and my roommate Angie went out and got cats. It was a surprise, so I gave her the money. She comes home with the cat.
When?
I'm not sure on the exact date.
What else?
And then I gave her. She asked.
Stop playing with the cards.
Sorry. She asked. I borrowed a couple $100 to her in cash.
When?
I'm not sure.
For what?
Miscellaneous stuff. I'm not even sure what it was for.
Before or after she was sharing your room on October 4th?
After.
What else?
And then I gave her. She went on house arrest for a few weeks, and I paid for all the house arrest.
What was she on house arrest for?
That I'm not exactly sure. She I wouldn't call her an honest person, so.
What else?
She wanted to borrow a couple $100 to go Christmas shopping for her 3 kids, and I wrote a check to the bank, and I got a receipt and a check saying that I got the $200 from my bank to loan her.
Oh, this better pick up, Mr. Lowen. Let's go.
And then I also gave her $30 for she needed to get diapers for her kids, and then I also she ordered Chinese food one day at work, and I went out and picked up the Chinese food, and then I paid for it, and of course she never paid me back for it. And then on November 1st, she cleaned out cleaned out her room, and I had to pay $6 extra for garbage. And then when she finally moved out, I had to pay another $4 to get rid of some more stuff.
Judge Judy, am I allowed to step in here for a minute?
No. Let me stop you, Mr. Lowen, because I'm really getting very bored. And if I'm bored, Bird is bored. With your $6 and your $4 and your $20 and your $23. From October the 4th until she left in January, did she share your room?
Yes. Well, not the whole time.
Half the time?
About that, yeah.
Forget it. Can you say these words? No, I'm not interested. Could you repeat those words to me?
Yeah, no, I'm not interested.
No, I'm not interested.
I'd like to call my witness. She can verify that she would not leave me alone. I asked her several times to leave.
Mr. Lowen, you don't ask her several times to leave. You call the authorities and say, I want this person who's trespassing in my house out of my house. You have no lease with her. She had no right to be there. But you can't call the police to come to your house to evict a trespasser who you're sleeping with. That's a problem. Do you work for a living?
Yes, I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I deliver pizzas for Domino's Pizza.
Okay. If Domino's Pizza calls somebody and says, we have an offer, you get a 12-inch pizza with 9 toppings for $6.99, and somebody doesn't like pizza, you know what they say? No, I'm not interested. But listen to me, Mr. Lowen. You don't eat the pizza and then say, no, I'm not interested. Do you understand my point?
That's a good analogy, yeah.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party, and the dog disappeared.
Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too.
And later today...
I started crying, and I was screaming. I was saying, stop. And he said, shut the F up and get over it.
Listen, Miss Campbell, get over it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jed Lowen says his relationship with roommate Kelly Postumus quickly turned romantic. Now, he claims she owes for unpaid loans, rent, and for the cost of a puppy.
Now, madam.
Yes.
You say that he took stuff out of your storage unit.
Yes.
What was your stuff doing in storage?
It was after I moved out of his house, I placed it all in storage.
Did he have a key to the storage unit?
Actually, yes. When we first got it, he put it in his name. So he's the only person that had a key.
What was in your storage unit?
I had everything. My bed, my crib, my table, my TV, my PS2, my VCR, all my clothes, my kids' stuff.
Mr. Lowen, did you take any of the stuff out of the storage unit that belongs to her? Hmm?
It's a bunch of junk in her storage.
Did you stop paying for the storage?
I signed the lease, and I was on it I got a month free, and then like a month later, we went and got it arranged so it was in her name.
You went together?
Right.
Now, when you went together, did you check the storage unit?
I didn't even look in there.
You went down to the storage unit with him and had it put in your name?
I met down there and...
Just answer my question.
No, not with him.
You met down there?
Yes.
Did you look in the storage unit at that time?
He wouldn't give me the key. He wouldn't let me go in there. He had bought me a car.
Just a sec. If you went and put it in your name and paid for it, then they'll give you another key.
Your Honor, the lock that I originally had on there, he went and cut it off and put his own lock on. And he had bought me a car. And he told me I had moved to Illinois, and he told me he wasn't going to sign over the storage until he got the car back. So that day, he went down with his mom, got the car, and I have in the signed agreement here saying that once he got the car, he would sign it over, give me the keys, he wouldn't take anything or nothing out of my storage. And the next day, he came over, signed it over, but he didn't give us the keys.
Other than the fact that he had the key, you have no proof that he took anything out of the storage unit. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. Now tell
I
me
have my
about
witness, though, that knows everything that was in storage. I have
I don't care.
pictures.
Any proof that he took stuff out of storage? Why didn't you pay him any rent?
I did actually pay him rent when I was working at Domino's. I signed over 2 checks to him. One was for $350 and one was for $400.
The last item on your agenda is this puppy,
Yes.
right? What happened with the puppy?
Well, I wrote a personal check, which I got the check right here, and she was my witness. She lived with me at the time.
Would you tell me what happened with the puppy?
I bought the dog this October 30th for $150. So the next day, she threw a Halloween party.
Who's she?
Kelly.
Yes?
She threw a Halloween party and the dog disappeared.
Where were you?
I was working.
What happened to the puppy?
Actually, somebody took the puppy from the party we had, but he wasn't working. He was there. And Angie, that's sitting over there, it was probably about 3 months ago. She was an ex-roommate, too. Jed had taken her to court and sued her for the puppy, too. This is the third person.
Were you sued for this puppy?
Not for the puppy, it was for the cat.
Takes all kinds. Mr. Lowen, you have no case. You ate the pizza, sir. You ate the pizza. And, madam, you have no case because you can't prove to me that he took anything out of your storage.
Can I show
Goodbye.
you pictures?
Goodbye. Have a happy life. It's been nice spending the morning with you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's scandalous, doesn't pay anyone anything.
I got pictures of everything being damaged. My entertainment center is totally scratched up. I mean, just everything that was in there.
I never touched her. I never broke anything. She made it all up, and her junk wasn't worth anything anyways.
Everything was going fine between me and him, and then all of a sudden his parents are like, if you don't choose her or else you're never going to see us again, so that's when he kicked me out.
Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson are suing Isaac's ex-girlfriend, Donna Schulte, for towing fees and car repairs from an accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 3025, Ruiz Thompson versus Schulte.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Ruiz, this is your boyfriend.
Correct.
How long have you been together with him?
It's been on and off for about...
Like 2.5 years, Your Honor.
And you have a child together?
We do.
How old is that child?
He turned 1 in January.
Do you live together?
We do.
For 2.5 years?
Most of the 2.5 years, correct.
When it wasn't the most, were you living with Miss Schulte?
No.
When were you with Miss Schulte?
3.5 years ago, at least.
When you were with Miss Schulte, were you living with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have any children together?
1.
How old?
He will be 4 in August.
Do you see him?
Every week, or every other week.
That going okay?
Yep.
Yep, it's not an answer.
Sorry, yes,
it's an
Your
answer.
Honor.
Very good. Okay. Now, when you were with her 3.5 years ago, you had a car.
Yes.
And that car was a 2016 Jeep Renegade.
Correct, Your Honor.
In whose name was that car?
The vehicle is in mine and Kendall's name.
When was it put in your name and Kendall's name?
At the time of purchase, it was...
2021.
Yes, it was...
May I have it, please? Thank you. Okay, so it was purchased by the two of you April 6, 2021.
Correct, Your Honor.
And at that time, you two were together.
Yes, Your Honor.
But then there came a time when you had a breakup.
Yes, Your Honor.
When was that?
It was around December of 2021.
And where did you go?
I went back to move in with my parents.
Did you take the Jeep with you?
I did.
Did you have another car, Miss Ruiz?
I actually drove the Jeep for a while until...
No, he said he took the car and went back to his parents. That was in December of 2021. What I'm asking you is, in December of 2021, did you have another car?
I got a new vehicle, yes.
In December of 2021, when he left. So it was agreed between the two of you that he would take the car, even though it was in both your names?
Yes.
Okay. Who was making payments on the car?
I was, Your Honor.
So that was the agreement. He would take the car, he would make the payments, you would get another car.
Yes.
Great. And then you moved back with your parents. Now tell me how Miss Schulte, with whom you have a child, got possession of the Jeep.
So at the time, I was not able to afford the vehicle.
Okay, so you took it, but you had payments. What were the monthly payments?
I believe they were $367.
So how did it come into Miss Schulte's possession?
I did not need the vehicle as I had another car at the time, and she was in need of a new vehicle. So I offered her the deal that if she were able to put the vehicle in her name and keep insurance on it, that she was able to have the vehicle, but she did not follow any of the rules for the agreement.
She can't register the car in her name, sir, because there's a loan out on the car.
Right. But
and they're not going to allow somebody off the hook. That would be the two of you who are on that loan.
Right.
Right? They're not going to allow the two of you off the hook and just have her on the hook. The loan, as between the loan company and the two of you, she's nobody.
Right.
So she can't register the car in her name unless she pays it off.
That was the idea behind the agreement, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know what the idea was. You mean the idea was that she make the monthly payments?
Yeah, she was to continue making the monthly payments.
That's okay. She can make the monthly payment. She still can't register it in her name as the owner because there's a lien on the car by the people who gave you the money to buy it.
Correct.
So she can't register because there's a lien on it, on your title. Do you have your title?
I do.
And I want you just to look at your title and tell me what it says under lien holder.
It says the bank that has the title to the vehicle.
Right. And they actually hold the title. She can't register it in her name. So in effect, what you said to her was you can use the car as long as you make the payments.
Correct.
Because I can't make the payments anymore. Okay. And then you went back to Miss Ruiz.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go back to Miss Ruiz? Month. This was in
January of 2022.
So a month later.
Yes.
Now, your agreement with her is that she could use the car.
Correct.
She has used this car as long as she made the payments.
And had insurance on the vehicle.
Okay. Did she make the payment in January?
Late.
Did she make the payment in January?
She did.
What about February?
She did.
What about March?
I do not believe so.
What happened in April? Did you ask for the Jeep back?
I was asking for the vehicle back shortly after giving it to her because she wasn't holding up her end of the agreement. She was not making the payments on time and she did not have insurance on the vehicle.
She made the payments. She made January, February, and March.
Late,
now,
which affected my credit.
Well, that's too bad.
Kendall Ruiz and Isaac Thompson claim Isaac's ex-girlfriend, Donna Schulte, owes for towing fees and vehicle repairs from an accident.
Okay. Did she make the payment in January?
She did.
What about February?
She did.
What about March?
I do not believe so.
How long did you have the car?
Until April.
Did you make March's payment?
I did.
Do you have proof of that?
Well, I have 3 payments, so January, February, March.
Yes. The answer, I don't have to see them. I believe she has them. So she paid January, February, March. What happened in April?
She was not making the payments. There was still...
She made January, February, and March. Now we're in April.
Yes, she did not make the payment. We did not get the Jeep back until May 3rd.
Just a second. What happened in April? Did you ask for the Jeep back?
I was asking for the vehicle back shortly after giving it to her because she wasn't holding up her end of the agreement.
What was her end of the agreement? I just told you she couldn't register it in her name because she doesn't have title, neither do you.
I understand that.
Right.
The agreement was that she was supposed to continue to make the monthly payments and she was supposed to put insurance on the vehicle. She was not making the payments on time and she did not have insurance on the vehicle.
No, she made the payments. She made January, February, and March.
Late,
now,
which affected my credit.
Well, that's too bad. That wasn't your agreement. Your agreement was that she was to make payments. There was nothing you agreed that she had to make the payments on time. I assume that your girlfriend, Miss Ruiz, did not like the fact that your old girlfriend had the car that was titled partially in her name. I want you to answer that question, sir. It's a very easy question. You don't have to be a soothsayer, and you don't have to have an advanced degree in psychology to know that your current girlfriend and the mother of your child, of your new baby, doesn't like the fact that you gave a car that's in her name to your old